So probably the client of ours who everyone is most excited about was the Obama campaign. So yeah, it was actually a very exciting time. Although I can't count the number of calls I got at 2:45 in the morning. So it's cool now, but during the campaign it wasn't so awesome. What the Obama campaign wanted to do, and they, unlike most campaigns that are very disorganized, the Obama campaign had a very clear goal of what they wanted to achieve. They wanted to get more volunteers, they wanted to increase turnout, the events they had, they wanted to get more donors, they wanted to create a general excitement about the campaign, and then last and most importantly, they wanted to increase the number of people to vote for the candidate. And that was both in the primary, which was actually very hard fought, and then in the general, which was a little bit more of a cakewalk, which I think everybody's pretty excited about. So the problem with mobile marketing is that you can't just up and go buy a list or just create it out of thin air. You need to, over time, build a list. And so that's what the Obama campaign went out to do. So they tried to find innovative ways to engage people. They would give away free ringtones that were Obama set to a hip-hop beat. They would encourage people to get information that you could only get by cell phone. And actually, the largest driver of people engaging with the campaign was people wanted to know who the vice presidential announcement would be. That was responsible for over 1 million people. Oh, no reporters can't quote me on numbers. But it was responsible for over 1 million people signing up, and they wanted to know that one piece of information. So what the campaign did is they built this list, and then they started to use it effectively to communicate. So at first, during the primary, they were getting their feet wet how to use it. So they would go in, they would test it in the state and say, hey, go out to the caucus, if it was a caucus state, and they would see widely, just massive participation where they weren't expecting those kind of numbers. And so they would start segmenting it by zip code and testing it. And it turned out that the turnout was just huge when people were getting a text message, and people really were feeling connected with the campaign. And I think one of the reasons they did that is the context of the messages made sense. They were not written like in official press release style. They always referred to the candidate as Barack, which was very personal, kind of a one-to-one, like we're talking about our friend Barack, and it really created a tight tie with the people receiving the messages. Another thing I'm very happy that they did is that all the messaging was written in what I call, full English or proper English. So there weren't all the odd abbreviations that you see in some text messages, because this is coming from, after all, a presidential campaign or his candidate. And I think that when you're receiving a message from something that you want to be official, you want it to be treated at least a little bit seriously. So there wasn't, I can't even think of any of the good abbreviations now, but all the abbreviations that you might use in your interpersonal communication, they avoided those, and I think that made a lot of sense. So, the campaign was pretty successful. I'd be happy to answer a lot of specific questions because I could speak up here for a couple hours if you wanted me to, and I don't think anybody would benefit from that. But probably one of the most innovative things we did for the campaign was building out what was fundamentally a chat engine, which I guess that's more from a business side of how we think of it. But we would get a lot of people texting in very generic things like hope or volunteer or their zip code, so we knew where they lived, and they would get an automatic response back, and we would then message them appropriately about events or how to volunteer. But we also got a lot of people asking free-form questions. And the way a text messaging system works is if it sees a particular keyword coming in, then it would send out a particular response. Thank you for your zip code. Thank you for your interest in the economy. But if people would write a longer question, then there needed to be a way to respond to them. And so we built out a function where a couple interns in the campaign were having a constant dialogue back and forth. The intern would identify themselves by name. So Audrey was the one who sent most of them. If you texted in, you probably got a message from her. But it created more interest. So people would say, hey, I really want to help in volunteering. What are the other things I can do? And then you were able to guide them and provide fuller information that traditional mobile marketing campaign that's all pre-programmed might not provide. I'm just going to briefly mention a couple of other clients that we work with, only because I think what they do is pretty exciting and it helps for engagement. Disney is a client of ours, and they wanted to generate some excitement around the High School Musical 3 movie, which I'm sure most of you saw. So what they did is, some bigger fans than others here. What they wanted to do is build excitement about the movie and obviously drive more people to go see the movie. So we launched a trivia application for them where people would start off, they text in, they'd get a question, they'd answer it right, they'd get points. If they didn't answer it right, they'd get less points. And they would continue to text it back and forth. And at the same time, there was a website that they could go to. And what a website is it's just a mobile internet site that you can get to on your phone. And then they could see screenshots from the upcoming movie that weren't available yet. There was an avatar where they could dress their character, they could design their page, they could send it to their friends. And frankly, we weren't sure what kind of engagement that would develop, but actually it was overwhelmingly popular. And so people were, we get to kind of spy and see all the messages going back and forth, and people are like, oh, check out the new screen, like, oh, I answered this many questions right, I got to see this screenshot from the new movie, and it actually generated a great deal of excitement. I have no idea if it had any impact on movie sales, but Disney was happy, so they paid their bill, so that's all. I guess they were happy enough. And then another somewhat similar program that we're running is with the Washington Capitals, where you go to the game and you text in the jersey of the player you want for that game. You get points based on how they do. You get to redeem those points, and people can become fanatic about playing the game. And so we'll have people texting in as soon as one game ends. They'll be texting in the jersey of the player they want for the very next game. And so there's this continued interaction where they're playing this game and they're getting points. Even if they have no chance of winning, they kind of have that rapt attention and engagement. And I don't know that hockey fans is exactly the target that you're looking to reach, but what is important is if you provide a way for people to interact in something that's engaging and fun, that people will do that. And it's just amazing. I'm supposed to be a technology professional. I am a technology professional, but I'm always a little skeptical about how some of these things will work, and it always shocks me about how willing people are to use their phone to engage with you, and it's fantastic. So, have I gone long, short? Okay, so I thought it'd be more interesting. I could tell a lot of the questions that people were asking were more, if I can give some specific applications of how text can be used and some of the questions around, I think that might be more helpful. So.
My question isn't about that. What really caught my attention was your first comment that you find that there is a lot of resistance within organizations around technology. Do you find that particularly with community organizations, community-based organizations? Do you have experience or thoughts on that? And just in general, the resistance overall, given my head, it's like I have a new life after coming to this conference, particularly for my work. So I'm just surprised by that.
Sure. Her question was about the resistance within organizations. And I don't want to unfairly categorize the Washington, D.C. Nonprofit community. They're great people there. Lots of them are very forward-thinking. But what we have seen is that, especially in people are like, well, we've done something that's always worked. Why shouldn't we try something new? Or it's just, a lot of the decision makers are in a demographic that might not be embracing technology as much as I'm very happy to see everyone here embracing it. And, I don't know how to overcome that. Because my company's been fairly successful, we try to give back and work, to give great pricing and do all kinds of bend over backwards for helping nonprofits use the technology as much as they can, and yet there still just seems to be kind of, an institutional, attitudinal barrier that I'm just not sure. I don't know how to answer your question. It saddens me that I don't know how. So.
We're trying, part of the conference and part of these people's generosity is to help bridge that, cross those boundaries, and break down those barriers. I would suggest you connect with Bill Bailey because they have a particular, raise your hand again, Bill. They have a particular nonprofit employee and distributed networks to help break down those barriers.
Sure. What we normally do, and what we did with the Obama campaign is, for I would say the first 3 to 4 months, we wrote everything. But we consulted with them. We said, okay, here's why you want to write it in this way. Here's kind of the ideas. And then you just get it. It's like writing headlines. If you go to a newspaper, it takes a little while to kind of get the knack of it, and then you just get it. And some people, it takes a week, and some people it takes 6 months. But yeah, obviously we want, any company in our position is going to want to see you succeed. So obviously it's on us to